who think that this will do something down the line. It will not make a difference at all.
Nicole Brenecki is an attorney and a political commentator, and Bill Brown is an attorney and retired U.S. Navy SEAL. Nicole, let me begin with you. I think that most people are expecting that the Supreme Court will uphold the state bans on transgenders competing in girls' sports. Is that what you expect?
I think so, too. I think this case, the most important thing is what level of scrutiny the court will apply to this decision. There are different levels of scrutiny when it comes to equal protection clauses in the Constitution.
Such as what?
Well, heightened scrutiny, for instance, when, you discuss certain characteristics that are supposed to be protected, and then there are ones that are more neutral. So here the states will argue that this is the more neutral one should be applied, and because of that, the government can argue its interests, such as, maintaining competition between genders and all these other items that have been historically on the books.
So yesterday, we could view it as a little bit of a mixed bag, Bill, in terms of what we saw play out for President Trump. He did get one win, which expanded his presidential authority. This was the case against Rebecca Slaughter, former FTC commissioner. This expands the presidential powers by a lot. I mean, overturning a 91-year precedent. So how do you view that, especially given the fact that he did not win with Fed Governor Lisa Cook? She's still very much there.
Well, I think the big win is the Slaughterhouse case.
Definitely.
So under Article 2, basically the executive powers, agencies, federal agencies that have executive authority, basically the president has the ability to decide who's going to be in charge of those. I think the court got it right there. I think the court set mixed signals on the other case, because what they did in this case is they basically, in my opinion, the way I look at the ruling is they gave the Federal Reserve an independence that's distinct, and it doesn't align with the case in the Slaughter case.
Yeah, interesting. Nicole, obviously, MS Now looks at things a little bit differently than most normal people. They took exception to the Supreme Court ruling that empowered the president to fire heads of independent agencies. Listen.
What this does is unleashes political patronage. Why should people care? Because you do not want a Republican president to come in and fire every Democrat, and you do not want every Democratic president to come in and fire every Republican. You want career people in place with experience who are supposed to be apolitical regardless of party. And here you have a very ahistoric decision by the Chief Justice that has very, very long coattails in terms of how it's going to affect our justice system.
Do you agree with that critique?
Well, I have an issue with this statement because right now we have a Republican president, but there may be a Democratic president down the road, and then once again a Republican president. So I wouldn't tie that to political affiliations. The majority opinion in this decision stated that this is the only way that these individuals can be accountable to the people through the president, because if they're accountable to the president, he can eliminate them for cause or whatever. So that's how they're accountable to us and as taxpayers. And I think that's the main philosophy in this majority opinion.
Yeah, and it makes sense because you want the president to have the people he wants there. You don't want obstructionists who are going to potentially thwart his efforts. But a New York Times opinion piece asked a fundamental question in light of the rulings, which seemingly oppose one another. The article reads this, quote, "Why is the statute Congress enacted to protect the Fed from political interference worth upholding, but not the law that established the FTC?" Justice Amy Coney Barrett pointed out that the two holdings are in serious tension with each other. How can history support both a categorical rule and a carve-out, she asked. Your reaction to that, Bill, I think you sort of laid it out before, but in terms of this, I mean, it does seem to me that the president has this increased authority, but then the carve-out, of course.
Well, if I want to just strictly advocate for the president, and I want to take a narrow ruling of the Cook case, is that really what they did is they said, look, you can't fire a head of an agency via Twitter without the procedural part of it. And I think that's the kind of the strict holding of it. But some of the opinions, they implied something greater to that. And basically, I want to be sincere what they really did. In my opinion, they don't trust the president. And so they put a check on him.
Interesting. Nicole, birthright citizenship also going to be, I mean, it's just huge today because the president is trying to say, you know, look, just because you are able to sneak across the border or you're here legally, but you're here as a visitor, if you have a child, that child shouldn't automatically become an American citizen. And I don't think in a lot of other countries they do allow that. What's your thoughts on this case?
Well, the main argument from the other side opposing the administration is that we have a precedent that's been standing for over 100 years, the case from San Francisco, Kim Wong-ark. So they will be harping on that for sure in their argument. But, you know, there's also so much to be said on the other side. The president is pointing to political things such as birth tourism that ties it
which
to,
we know happens.
Yes, yes, sure. Because that precedent and this law was established mainly at the time when we had issues with slavery and other individuals that were, you know, would be left out. But times have changed, and right now they're addressing that in this decision. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, they always say it's a living document.
It is,
you
as
know?
We're celebrating America's 250. I mean, our Constitution still stands, our amendments. It's so exciting. We're discussing it still now. But Bill, in terms of the outcome of this case, many are saying President Trump will not be winning this, even though he attended oral arguments, because the Supreme Court gave him those 2 immigration wins already. So looking at the politics of it all, what do you think the outcome will be? We'll know very soon.
Well, I believe the outcome's likely to be that the Supreme Court's going to strike it down. But think about what the president's trying to do here on all of these cases, right? What is he trying to do? He's trying to protect the American people. He's trying to create basically boundaries. And if you look at the language in the 14th Amendment, right? Basically, it states that if you're born here and you're under the jurisdiction of our laws here, then you can be a citizen. So if you look at the plain language in the 14th Amendment, its intended purpose of what it was trying to do, basically freed slaves to make sure that their children were citizens. That was the intent. What's happened now is the slippery slope where if you get across the border, it doesn't matter, right? And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to create boundaries, and it's for all of us.
Yeah, there are some hospitals down along the border where like 70% or more of the births are to people who are here illegally.
So true. And also, we're going to talk about it later in the program, but the housing market has fundamentally changed as a result of migrants coming here. And to that point as well, in the jurisdiction thereof, what the 14th Amendment was talking about, it all depends on whether or not the people came here legally or illegally, or whether it applies to them. So that, to your point, that's the plain reading of the text, correct?
They will be analyzing the meaning of what the jurisdiction thereof means. Definitely, because that would not be just giving birth to someone on the in a geographical territory, but that would go towards whether they're illegal or not. In terms of immigration laws.
Yeah, and if the DSA candidates keep on winning, we won't have a border to worry about.
That's
so,
true.
You know
That's
what?
true.
Maybe this is almost
null and void.
Become a moot issue.
We're watching those races very carefully today.
Definitely.
All right, Nicole and Bill, thank you very much.
Thanks to you both. All right, search and rescue operations are underway in Venezuela. How is the country dealing with the aftermath of those deadly earthquakes? A State Department official joins us later this hour to explain.
Plus, as Americans get ready